What up? What up? What up? It is your man, Mr. Controversy. Did you miss me? Yes, it is time once again for the top 10. You know how we do it, the 3 point conversion style, where we go and battle and depict each other's top 10. And of course, I'm not doing this by myself. It is me and my guy, Danny Thompson. What up, Danny?
Man, what's going on, Raphael? It's a beautiful night, it's Sunday. It's top 10 time. What can we say?
Oh yeah, it is, man. And you know how we do it, man. It's all fun, love, and fun. But you know I got to talk about your list, man. If you got it wrong, you already know how we do.
Vice versa. Let's listen. Your list is not always peachy clean and easy every single week. Let's just say that.
To you, it's not.
Yeah, and
I'm,
vice
I'm
versa.
pretty sure that's how you feel. But how you doing, man? Everything good?
It's beautiful. It's Sunday. It's a relaxed day. We get back to work, Raphael, this week because WNBA starts this week. NBA starts on Wednesday. So baseball. So we back to work again.
Yeah, no, man. It's it was a good vacation, good while
I
it
know.
lasted. But now this WNBA is, it's a lot of work. People don't know, but it's a lot of work just doing that. So just imagine, got to get back in the thick of things.
Yep.
But yeah, man. But I'm ready for this top 10. And if whoever's watching, please share if y'all can. We are live, and we appreciate the share. We appreciate you watching. Um, we got a shout out to Mike. Mike, as always. And then what up, Mike? Mike said he got us on the TV in the house. So what up,
That's how,
family?
that's how you do it.
And if everybody, you all can comment as well. Um, this one, for LA.
It ain't been 3 minutes, really. What's up, LA?
Hey. All right, y'all. So we're about to have fun. So we're about to go talk about this top 10 list we both have. And Danny, you know how it goes. You go first, and I'm gonna
Yep.
go. Then when we get to five, after six, we're gonna switch. I'll go first, then you go. All right. So go ahead, man. It's on you. So who is your number 10 quarterback?
All right, so we're starting number 10. So 2000s was a great era for quarterbacks. I mean, some of the best quarterbacks that in the game played during this decade. So my number 10 is a quarterback. Listen, he fell 1 yard short. His team was 1 yard away from him having a Super Bowl ring. A man that won 10 games with two different teams, and that's Steve McNair of the Tennessee Titans and Baltimore Ravens. This man won 10 games as a starter for two different franchises. If you really want to be specific, he won 13 games as a starter as a Raven. Toward the end of his career in 2006, 2007 was cut short due to what happened off the field. But he had multiple 10-win seasons as a quarterback of the Tennessee Titans. On top of the fact that he's second in the decade in rushing yards. Listen, and the crazy part was in college, his nickname was Air McNair, but we never really saw all the air that we were expected to see like we did in college. But he did complete over 62% of his passes in the decade as well too. So McNair was a perfect combination of quarterbacking skills, running skills, and everything else at the same time. And I mean, let's be honest, he felt if he would have won a Super Bowl, he'd been higher on my list. So I got McNair at number 10.
Hmm, okay, it's a good pick, man. I like McNair. I always thought McNair. I never thought he was the best quarterback on the field,
Mm-mm.
but I always thought he was the best football player on the field. So I
It's
like
like
that.
it's like watching Cam Newton.
Right.
And he might not be the best passer, but Cam Newton when he's on,
But right. But I'll say this, and we're going. We can't even put that on him because you know who his coach was, right?
mm-hmm, we
So
know.
yeah. So we can't even say if it was McNair because you can't put a HBCU school on the map
Mm-mm.
with all those be Arab McNair and then come to the
Yep.
NFL and not throw anything. But that's on his coach. But okay. So my number 10 quarterback, I'm gonna tell y'all right now, I promise y'all, this was like the hardest to me, the top three, and when I mean top three or bottom three was hard. Bottom
Mm-hmm.
four was hard because I think this was a league where you were seeing a lot of transition. So teams were coming from running the ball to now, okay, let's throw, let's put in the hands of the quarterback. But that didn't happen to the last part of the decade, to maybe like the last 4 or 5 years of the decade. So
Mm-hmm.
in saying that, my number 10, I almost want to say by default, I'm going to go with Matt Hasselbeck, man, as number 10. Reason why, first I'm gonna talk about all the bad stuff. Sorry, Matt, you my guy, but let's be real, y'all. I couldn't think of no other quarterback to put ahead of Matt Hasselbeck. Looking at stats, looking at quarterbacks being relevant, being clutch, or what have you. So, only reason why I go with Matt Hasselbeck, I thought he was underrated. And again, like I stated before, he played in that system where they ran the ball. Mike Holmgren, when he got there, we're not gonna put it in your hands. We're gonna run the ball. We're not gonna do like we did with Brett Favre. We're gonna run the ball, run the ball. We got Sean Alexander, but Matt Hasselbeck was there. He made the right throws when they needed him. He was there to make those throws. Of course, he threw that famous interception. We know about that, but you think about it, he got them to the Super Bowl. They was always in the playoffs. So and he played big in big games. So I don't want to say by default, but that's my number 10 quarterback of the decade. And then let me put in just a little bit of stats. I mean, he did have 163 touchdowns in the decade, but he was very tough though. That's one thing about Matt Hasselbeck. I think that I admire that he was very tough quarterback, and that's my number 10 quarterback, man.
Interesting number. All right, so we're going to number 9. And for me, remember how I just mentioned that McNair is 1 yard short,
Mm-hmm.
and if he would have had 1 yard, he would have been higher in this list. My number 9 transitioned the entire franchise. If we're talking about impact on the entire league in the last, I'd say 25, 30 years, he might be number 1. He made an entire franchise relevant, put him on the map, and he missed 2 seasons because he ended up in jail for fighting dogs. And that's Atlanta's Michael Vick, in Philadelphia Eagles quarterback Michael Vick. Listen, he was not, like to McNair's point, he was not the best passing quarterback you're going to find. But single-handedly, Michael Vick was the most dangerous player on the field, arguably the fastest player on the field, and he made the Falcons relevant. He was 38-28 as a starter in Atlanta. For a team that struggled to even win back-to-back 500 seasons, to put up those numbers in that system, it was worth it. Yeah, he went to jail for fighting dogs, and that it is what it is. The second part of his career, that was in Philadelphia. That happened in the 2010s. But there was not one player in the entire league that was more electrifying at any point in time than Michael Vick. He led the entire decade in rushing yards. He, like I said, he led the Falcons to an 11-win season and an 8-win season in back-to-back seasons. He changed the entire scene, changed the entire culture, and to this day, Michael Vick to me is what Allen Iverson was culture-wise for the NFL to NBA comparison, and they're both from the same area, from the Tidewater. So I have Vick at number 9.
Okay. All right. So my number 9 quarterback, which I switched, Danny, earlier. This is early. I switched. This guy gets a lot of flack for who he is. For he don't get praised for what he did, but for the most part, for who he is. Think interceptions. You think somebody that maybe got in because of his name. My guy, Eli Manning. Eli Manning. Now, I was going to put him higher than this or lower, however you want to call it, but I chose not to. But let's be real, y'all. If you look at Eli Manning, you look at his teams, he didn't get a wide receiver until what, 2007, until he got Plexico. Before then, what wide receivers did he have? Amani Toomer he was all right, but who else? Then you got to remember Tom Coughlin really didn't trust Eli and always, ran the ball. Of course, he had Tiki. But Eli, like I stated with Matt, is probably the toughest quarterback that ever played a game besides Brett Favre. Eli would take hits. Eli never complained. He didn't have a good line. Always was there every game. I remember him. I think he separated his shoulder and then played the next game. I remember chin busted up, played the next game. But one thing about Eli though was Eli was a gamer. Like I said, he wasn't gonna quit. He was gonna be there when you needed him. Funny thing is, a lot of interceptions that Eli had, Danny, I believe personally, I used to get on him at first until I start really watching them and tip balls, receivers running wrong routes. Now he threw some interceptions, trust me, but still, he was that guy. He was the one that made that run. That was all Eli. That run when they got to the Super Bowl in 2007. I mean, the guy had over 123 touchdowns. Remember, he came in 2004 and played like half the season in 2004. Remember, Kurt Warner was there at first. They had 4,000-yard season. He was Super Bowl MVP as well. But I don't think he gets a lot of credit. And you really didn't see him open up until 2010, the next decade. That's when they start throwing it more. But for this, like I said, he was just that quarterback, tough, dependable, didn't have a lot of weapons, especially on the passing side. He didn't have any receivers like that till he got Plex. And you saw what happened when he got Plex. They went on, they changed that team's winning percentage. They start winning, they start going to the playoffs. And he was the guy that you didn't want to face in the playoffs. So I got Eli Manning as my number 9 quarterback. So before you go any further, I want to go to the comment because I already know it's some crazy. Let me see. So I think Kyle was talking about Eli. I think please acknowledge the evolution of that O-line.
Yes, gotta be Manning.
Yeah, it's gotta be Manning. Who else? Okay, James Manny Robinson said Eli should be higher. I don't know, man. I thought about it. Vince said Vic was one player I would pay money to see play. I guess he meant play. He was an exciting player to watch. Yeah, man, one of the biggest. Kyle said that was a homer pick. Homer pick though. I think you're talking about Vic.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah, because Kyle, he would have been higher than that if it was.
Oh, come on now.
Drake Carter said, "Whoa." Hey man, I couldn't think of. I didn't want it. Well, I'll explain why I didn't put me there on there. I'll explain why later on. All right, so all right, Danny, let's go ahead, man. Let's go to your number 8 quarterback.
Now, my number 8 quarterback, he didn't play the entire decade, so he played right around half the decade. And one thing about this quarterback was, even though he only played half the decade, he started 64 games. He was 46-18 as a starter. He didn't have one season as a starting quarterback under 500, won 10 games as a starter 3 times in the decade, including winning 13 games, 14 games, and 11 games as a starter. And that's Phillip Rivers in the same class as Peyton Manning. Listen, Phillip Rivers will be the one of those quarterbacks that you always will say never won the big game. But a quarterback that has a 107-45 touchdown interception ratio for the entire decade, he got it done. Yeah, we everybody will remember the fact that they didn't beat the New England Patriots in that AFC Championship game. But to be honest with you, who was beating the New England Patriots in this decade anyway when it came down to it?
Wait, which AFC? I'm sorry, which AFC Championship game?
I want to say it was 07. Was it either 07 or 09? I can't remember which one it was.
Where was the one they played in New England or San Diego?
I think it was one in New England.
So if they, you know what? I'm sorry to jump in, but if they say that, they need to get slapped. You know why?
07 it was. Excuse me, 07.
Because 07, do people realize that he played with a torn ACL?
I know.
Go ahead.
But people still blame him for that.
Right, I know.
Yeah.
And now Danny Tomlinson, who sat on the bench.
Thank you. But he catches a lot of.
But no, go ahead. Let me stop.
But people give Phillip Rivers flack for not winning that game. But here's the thing: numbers across the board are one thing. 64% completion percentage for the decade's another thing. And guess who has the number one passer rating for the entire decade by starting over 50 games? That's Phillip Rivers. 46 wins in only 64 games, a 72% winning percentage, which is the highest among starting quarterbacks that played over 50 games a decade that started. Phillip Rivers is number 8. It's just the fact that he didn't play long enough and he didn't win much after that. So I got him at number 8.
I'm gonna have something to say about that later on, but I like Phillip. I like Phillip. My number 8 quarterback, somebody you mentioned already. This dude, like you said, he changed. He not only changed the city, he changed the NFL. He changed the way that people looked at quarterbacks. And that's my guy, Michael Vick. I'm shocked that Danny didn't have him higher than this. That he had him, I'm shocked. I'm y'all don't know. He's definitely a homer, but I got to give him props on that. I know you get props for that, man. But no, but Michael Vick, man, he was. I was here. I moved here in '96, so I was here when he got drafted in Atlanta, and the excitement that came with him, it was almost like. And hear me when I say this. So when LeBron got drafted, you know how LeBron lived up to everything he was? That's what Vic was to the city, to the NFL, because it was so much hype about the excitement he was going to bring. He was electric. He was something we never seen before. And sure enough, he was. He not only changed just the way you view quarterbacks, but he changed the culture. He brought a swag that we had never seen before. What other, from a quarterback's position, what quarterback we knew had a swag like that or brought that type of, mentality? And no one. He couldn't throw the ball like Danny said. That's because that was by choice. That's because he didn't study, like you said. But people forget the first full season, he only had 8 interceptions. I think he went 7 games before he threw an interception. And this is under Dan Reeves when they were throwing the ball. He didn't mess up until they got what's his name? Not Mike Nolan.
It was Nolan.
Was it Mike Nolan or
I think it was Nolan.
Okay, Mike Nolan. I know his father coached also. But either or, didn't let Mike call good Lord. What's
it was because I think Greg Roman was coordinated at the beginning with him.
Yeah. He couldn't call audibles. He wasn't able to call audibles. But yet still, you looked at this quarterback, was like, okay, we never seen anybody dominate a game like him. Defensive coaches, I should say, didn't know how to prepare for this man because you couldn't play a basic defense with him. You probably had to have 2 spies, which opened up the running game for the running backs. And if he wanted to throw, if he tried, then him and Crumpler, they had that chemistry, man. But Michael Vick, I think he changed the NFL. He was the first $100 million quarterback, $100 million man, I think, in the NFL.
And also the first man to beat Green Bay in Lambeau Field in the playoffs.
Oh yeah, and to see him do that, to go to Lambeau in playoffs, and that was the second year I think starting, and to do that, that was the second year. First 4 years starting.
First, second year, yeah.
Yeah. So I got to give Michael Vick my number 8 spot, man. Pretty sure you'll like that, but go ahead.
Yeah. See, so I'm not a homer this time.
Nah, you not. Nah, I give it to you.
All right. So number 7. This man, number 7, listen, when you talk about a quarterback that came from nowhere, unless you really are a true football fan, he came from nowhere, bagging groceries, throwing passes, and playing in the Arena Football League, which is arguably something I grew up watching with the Iowa Barnstormers, to turn himself into not only a Super Bowl champion in the 90s, but turn himself into one of the most dangerous quarterbacks in the NFL, and then had a bad period and resurrected himself, bringing back the Arizona Cardinals. That's Kurt Warner. Listen, Kurt Warner was arguably one of the best passing quarterbacks you'll find. He was also a Hall of Famer. He's a Hall of Famer for various reasons, but he led the league in passing almost 5,000 yards. I think it was 2001. Led the league in touchdown passes twice. But here's the thing: after he left St. Louis, he had a stretch in New York where you thought his career was over. He got hurt, and then he got sent to New York. And guess what? He was left for dead in New York. I think Kerry Collins took his job at one point. But then he went to
Eli.
Arizona.
Eli.
Eli took his job.
Yeah.
Then he went to Arizona, the barren wasteland of places. Like no one wins in Arizona. He got there and within 2 seasons changed that entire franchise around. He went 27-14 touchdown interception ratio his first year, but then turned back around through 30 touchdowns and got them to the Super Bowl. And really was he had them in the lead in the fourth quarter. If it wasn't for a quarterback that will be named later, taking the team down the field to win that series in the fourth quarter, Warner would have won would have won a second Super Bowl with a different team.
Mm-hmm.
Kurt Warner resurrected his career at the end, played good in the beginning of the decade. I have Kurt Warner at number 7, and he's did a lot in this decade.
Okay. So I agree with you, man. I'm going Kurt Warner as well. I'll tell you why, since you talked about everything he did, I'll tell you why I have him at number 7 and not higher. Kurt Warner, he only had maybe 4 good seasons in that decade. He played well the first 2 years in St. Louis, but then played horrible after that and never could get his job back. Went to the Giants, and I don't know if y'all remember. Remember, he fumbled like 13 times in 2 games.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, he couldn't even hold the ball. Then throwing interceptions. So that's why I don't have him higher. But you got to give him credit because he was the one that because we all know they wanted Eli. They wanted Eli. He went to a bad spot anyway. And if if it wasn't for him and the way Eli played, they probably would have put Kurt back in. But remember, Kurt came back and told him, no, you stay with Eli. Don't mess up his confidence. Who would say that? A former MVP to say something like that, who still had years to play.
Mm-hmm.
And then, of course, like you said, he went to Arizona, man, and took Matt Liner's job. But
that wasn't saying much, but still.
True, but still, I mean, but he was the future though, and they didn't
Mm-hmm.
let him. You see, he didn't say nothing about Matt Liner. But anyway, it's funny how he didn't say nothing about. He said something about Eli. He didn't say that about Matt. He was like, "No, let me take this." But 2 4,000-yard seasons, and including 1 year where he had 4,800 yards, 4,800 yards.
Mm-hmm.
Man, this guy 167 touchdowns, and like you said, 2 Super Bowl appearances, man. So I got to give it to Kurt Warner.
Yeah.
All right, let me go to the. We're gonna see the new comments, see what they got. Okay, Rodney Richardson says it's a miracle to get that terrible Cardinal franchise to a Super Bowl. Yeah, it was.
Mm-hmm.
It was. I mean, but let's not act like he didn't have a team with him though, because they had some weapons. They definitely had some weapons.
Mm-hmm. Built some too. They
Yeah, they
drafted Fitzgerald. They had Bolden. They had some players, but Warner was the final piece.
yeah, Warner was the final piece. Okay, and if he did, even Julius Peppers would have been rendered helpless. Who you talking about, Kyle?
That's got to be Vic.
Yeah. Got to be Vic. Uh-huh. James said, did Falcons have back-to-back winning season with Vic?
Yes, he did. In the second and third year, they won 11 games. And they went 8-7 the second year.
Yeah. You said he didn't.
He did. He had back-to-back. He was the first quarterback to do back-to-back seasons with the Falcons.
Okay. And then Mike said, man, watching Vic was like watching a good thriller at the movies. You never knew what was coming next from him. Wow. I think that was a insult.
Depends what thriller movie it is, though.
Yeah, but that's not good when you say that's not good when you say that you never know what you're gonna get. That's not good. Rivers is good at 8. Okay. Like I said, I got something to say about that, but we'll talk about that later. All right, Danny. Who is your number 6 quarterback?
It's funny. Now we're in number 6. I'm now talking about the third quarterback in the same class. This was arguably the greatest quarterback class of all time. And this quarterback literally came out firing his rookie season. Went undefeated as a rookie at 13-0 as a starter. Listen, Ben Roethlisberger not only won games with his arm, won games with his legs, won games with his arm motion, but he was one of the hardest guys to take down the entire league. One of the toughest guys in the league to take down. And yeah, he led the league in interceptions in one season. But remember, he also won a Super Bowl as well too. So
Mm,
that takes more precedence than anything else. He threw over 120 touchdowns in the decade. If you really take away the injury plagued seasons, because he missed time in 2 seasons as a rookie, he didn't start the first 3 games, and then he took over. He missed, I think it was 4 games the second year. Would have had 3,000 yards in every season he started. He put up numbers. Pittsburgh won, and like I said, winning a Super Bowl, even if you weren't the quote unquote best player on the team, you still won a Super Bowl early in your career. So and all the things and all the intangibles that make Ben Roethlisberger special. That's why I have him here.
mm. You know what? I might switch it, man.
Go ahead, do what you got to do.
You know who I'm going with for my number 6 quarterback? I can't do it. I'm gonna stay with
That's how hard this is. Yo, see, I know for the folks watching, this is really difficult. Like
yeah,
we go back and forth to like literally we hit the live button.
right. I'm gonna stay with Ben. I agree with you. I think one thing I liked about Ben was I felt like he might not have been the best leader, might not have been the best thrower, especially in the early decade in the 2000s. Because I think the next decade is when you start to see him evolve. You start to throw the ball more. But this decade, he was just that guy he was a gamer. Like you knew you were going to win if you had him at the quarterback position. You know, he was a guy that you couldn't get him down. Like he wasn't fast at all, wasn't athletic. But remember, you couldn't get him down. Remember, you would try to sack him, and he would break the tackle, some way fight the um, the defender off, and then throw the ball while falling
Hmm.
down and get a first down. He was just that guy. I remember him breaking his nose in a game. Remember they had to crack it back. I think they was playing Baltimore, but that's just who he was, you know. And you said everything about him, man, all the accolades, and he revived that franchise, and so I got him as my number 6. All right, so what I'm going to do now, we're going to go ahead and if y'all missed it, y'all came late. This is Danny's bottom 5. All right, and I'm gonna go to we're gonna go to the last few comments. Um, Miss Precious, who says she's gonna do battlegrounds this coming up, said that did anyone mention Brett Favre? No, we didn't mention him, not yet. We, but those are the bottom 5 right there. Rodney said nasty Ben. I wonder why you said nasty Ben. Comment and say why you said nasty Ben, Rodney. I want. Oh,
He's a
I think I know
Panthers
what
fan.
you're talking. No. Oh, I thought he was talking about something else.
I don't know. He's a Panthers fan, so you never know with him sometimes.
Right. Kurt said Big Ben could have played in any system. I agree. A gamer made so many big plays. Yeah, man, he did. He did. It's one of them quarterbacks you want on your team. You know, off season, I don't know, but on your team, you want him. All right, here go my bottom 5 right here. So, Danny, how you feel right now, man?
I feel fine. I feel great. I think my list is solid. 6 through 10 is completely solid. I'm not
Okay,
saying now. What about yours?
I'm good. Like I said, it was a couple people I didn't put on mine that you had.
Yeah, I know. Mine too, and vice versa.
I
We go. We
wanted
we
to,
we gonna talk about some of
yeah,
those though.
I wanted to, but I have reasons why I didn't. So, but okay. Um, Mike with the low blow, like always, said Ben is good.
All right. I'm not even going there with that.
No. Kurt said, I'm not sure what the topic is, but if the best quarterback all time, John Wayne better be at the top of the list. Nah, bro. We're actually doing a top 10 quarterbacks of the decade. So you
2000s,
missed of the 2000s. I'm sorry, 2000 decade from 2000 to 2009. We already did the
90s.
90s. So John,
Elway is on both our lists in the 90s.
yeah, he was up there. Okay. So now we're gonna switch it. I'm gonna go first. He's gonna follow. Okay. So my number 5 quarterback. It's kind of hard. People forgive me. Like I said, we try not to be biased doing this. So Bears fans, forgive me. But this guy, he wasn't as good in this decade as he was in the past decade. He might have had more yards, but he didn't have that magic like he did last decade. And that's my guy, Brett Favre. Was not my guy, but that's Brett Favre. Brett Favre, I thought this picture right here said it all. I mean, snow, rain, what have you. He was that guy. He was the toughest quarterback to ever play the game. Didn't miss a game until um shame our quarterback knocked him out. I mean, our my DN knocked him out. So a linebacker, I should say, knocked him out and made him miss his first game. So shout out to the Bears. But still, he played what 18 seasons, 19 seasons without missing a game, which is sick. In the 2000s, this was a man that had many receivers. It's just, and he was hitting them. Donald Driver, Javon Walker, like he had some receivers, but he just didn't have that magic like he had in years past. Like he couldn't win that big game, which was get them to the Super Bowl. He couldn't do it. But when I think about Brett Favre, especially in the 2000s, I got to think about when his father passed and he played through that season, played through that game. You know, I'll tell a funny story real quick. Just watching that game, I remember throwing touchdowns. You know, I didn't like him, but still, after his fourth touchdown, I remember I was about to go to the bathroom. And then my father went. So you know, look, I'm doing this, Danny.
Exactly.
Trying not to cry. You know, I go out. My father's watching the game. When he come out, he got big crocodile tears coming out his eyes. But it was just that type of game, man. That was crazy. That was crazy though. But Brett Favre, I gotta put him in number 5. I mean, you think about his stats. I mean, 253 touchdowns in the decade, 4,000 seasons. Remember, this is still not big. This wasn't the normal. It wasn't normal to get 4,000 yards, but he had 4 of them. I mean, he had 3 of them. Sorry, 3 of them, and he had 26 game-winning drives in that decade. So Brett Favre is my number 5 quarterback.
You know what? I hate to do this. For my number 5, I'm going to agree with you on Brett Favre. All right, listen. People are going to say different things about Brett Favre, but he threw for 38,000 yards in the decade. Let's just be completely honest with you. That as a 40-year-old with the Minnesota Vikings, he led them to a 12-4 record. And if it wasn't been for some foolishness out in New Orleans, they might have gone to the Super Bowl that year. What kept Brett Favre from being anywhere higher on this list was he led the decade in interceptions with 174. That's like almost 40 more than anybody else. But he did throw almost 265 touchdown passes.
253. Go ahead.
253? Yeah. So he threw way more than he did. So yes, Brett Favre made mistakes. Brett Favre was a gunslinger. For as much as Brett Favre threw, you knew the interception was going to come sooner or later. It was going to happen. It was bound to happen. But he was the ultimate gunslinger. And like you said, to your point, he won, but he won with 2 different teams, though. He won in the same division.
Right.
You know how hard it is to win in the same division? To win 12 games with 2 different teams in the same division? And he went 12-4, Raphael, as a 40-year-old. So, like I said, he did it throughout the whole decade. Did he win the big win this decade? No. But 38,000 passing yards, 250-plus touchdowns. You got to have Favre on this list somewhere. So, I have him at 5.
My number 4 quarterback, I agree with you too. My number 4 quarterback is a man that gets disrespected when it comes to quarterback. You rarely hear his name. People don't talk about him anymore. This was the guy I say was probably the person that perfected the run out the pocket like I'm going to run, draw the defensive guy in, draw the linebacker in, and then throw right over his head for a first down. Could run the ball, could throw the ball. You talk about winning games. He's gonna make sure you win. And maybe 1 year that he had a decent receiver, just one. That's it. You already know who this is. Donovan McNabb, number 4. Let me tell you, man, it's funny because Donovan McNabb, he never had a 4,000-yard season with the Philadelphia Eagles, which is like you would think, okay, so why is he up here? But again, we're talking about playing with James Thrash, garbage, Freddie Mitchell, stop it. Who else he had?
Todd Pinkston. Todd Pinkston.
Pinkston. I mean, he weighed like 98 pounds. Like who was he throwing to, man? Like, you know what I'm saying? Just Westbrook? That can't be the only person he's throwing to. But yet still went to 5 NFC championship games. Went to the Super Bowl 1 year. The year he had T.O., even though T.O. was out for the playoffs. So he got him there still, McNabb. The thing is, I think with McNabb, you say, okay, he lost 5 championship games or 4. I can't blame that on him. You know who that falls on, Danny?
Go ahead.
Andy Reid. That has to, because your team, the players are good enough to get you to the championship or the conference finals, especially in football. As a coach, you got to go ahead and put that extra preparation. You got to put that wrinkle in that offense or defensive scheme to get them over the top.
Mm-hmm.
And you can't. It wasn't like he kept having bad games. I mean, I'm sorry, I got to put it on Andy. But still, like I said, man, Donovan was that guy. 208 touchdowns in the decade. He had he had 1 year where I thought he was gonna get MVP with T.O. I think when T.O. got hurt, I think that messed everything up. So I got to go with McNabb as my number 4 quarterback.
My number 4 is, we're going to agree again. And what more can you say about Donovan McNabb besides the fact that he did play with Publix and Wawa employees as wide receivers? The fact of Donovan McNabb, even with all those bad receivers and 1 year Terrell Owens, he was 90-45 as a starter for the whole decade. Mm-hmm. McNabb had one season where he was not 500 or better as a starter, and he missed 7 games that year. They were 4-5 that year. Every other year, the Eagles were either 500 or better. You mentioned 4 NFC championship games. McNabb also, like I said, he threw over 100 touchdowns in the decade, threw for over 20,000 yards. McNabb was never the numbers guy. McNabb he just knew how to win. That's all he did. And you can say he gets disrespected because of the fact of he just didn't have the talent around him. McNabb was a gamer's gamer. He can move. He can roll out the pocket. And he's probably the best basketball player among quarterbacks anyway. So I got McNabb the same spot as you.
All right, we're going to go to the comments real quick and see what they're saying. Kyle said, thank you for the McNabb pick. FedEx, baby.
Freddie Mitchell.
I know what you're talking about.
Yeah. Okay.
Rodney said, T.O., the cancer. Nah, bruh.
So, hey, listen, they got to the Super Bowl.
Hey, and let's be real. There's some stories that tell you. We talking Donovan McNabb. It wasn't T.O. that was the cancer in the locker room. It wasn't him. Mm-mm. People say it was McNabb, but we just gonna keep that on the hush. We ain't gonna say anything about that. Mike Patton said McNabb was winning with some awful wide receivers. The best end zone dance ever with the Michael Jackson moonwalk.
It's pretty difficult to get in cleats on grass.
Huh?
Pretty difficult to moonwalk in cleats on grass.
Dre said, why isn't Winston Carter considered a gunslinger also?
I'll take that one. Because Jameis Winston never won anything in the NFL. Next. All right, I got it for you. I took that for it. Jamie,
But but you know what? See, I, what gunslinger meant a long time ago was you just a gunslinger. I think he is a gunslinger because you know who else is a gunslinger who never won anything? Jeff George. I mean, gunslingers don't mean you're gonna put it like this. Brett Favre is probably, I guess,
the,
if you want to say
the best gunslinger possible.
if you want to say Terry Bradshaw was the first, maybe I don't know, but I'm saying, but in our day, Brett Favre was the first gunslinger that won.
Mm-hmm.
Usually, if you're a gunslinger, you don't win. You
Mm-mm.
know, so now they consider a gunslinger good, like Jenny said, but gunslinger, I mean, you just throw the ball. You just love to throw the ball. You know,
And
so
Tampa didn't win.
right. Rodney said Favre is the greatest Falcon quarterback of all time. Oh,
It's funny. We've been doing this show for 7 weeks and we only had one Carolina Panther on this show.
oh,
And
he's a
that wasn't even,
Panther.
unfortunately. I
And
feel sorry for him.
last one before we go ahead. So Precious said battleground next battleground contestant said, so I'm learning the game and I was looking at Brett's stats. I felt like he did really good in 2005 at Green Bay. Am I off?
No, he was good. 05, what? Favre, what? I think he was, I want to say he was MVP at 05?
No, he didn't win no MVPs after the 90s.
05, he had numbers. The team was trash in 05, but he had numbers. They were 4-12 in 05, but led the league in led the league in completions and attempts that year. He
All
was
right.
solid in 05.
I said this is the last one. This last one. Kyle, this is direct to me. How you know what a gunslinger is and still confused on a game manager? Yeah, he says Russell Wilson is a game manager. So maybe I'm confused. Hmm.
No,
Go
I don't,
ahead.
Tom Brady's a game manager, not Russell Wilson. But
Right, yeah. All right. Wow, Tom Brady. He used to be a game manager. I don't think he's a
I'm
not.
just saying.
Whew. All
I
right.
mean, Tom Brady's more of a game manager than Russell Wilson is.
Thank you.
Okay,
But
I'll agree with you on that one.
right, no, yeah, I agree. Okay. So number three quarterback. It's not by default that he's number three. You just can't put him any higher. But sometimes when I think about it, sometimes I'm tempted to. Because this is a guy that, I mean, besides now, I'm trying to think of the wide receivers he had. Now he had a tight end, but usually if you have a great tight end, besides, I mean, your team got to be great at other things. I mean, you just not considered great unless you're Tom Brady. But this is my guy Drew Brees, man. He didn't have the weapons, you know. I just want to say this, Danny. Just think if Drew Brees end up staying in San Diego, how many Super Bowls would he have?
I know one thing. I like Drew Brees more if he stayed in San Diego, if that counts for anything. But no. Take the bias half for a minute. I mean, could they have won a Super Bowl with Brees? I don't know.
Yes, yes, they would have won
I
a
don't
Super
know.
Bowl with those weapons. If he's getting to the Super Bowl, if he's getting to Super Bowls now or that Super Bowl and getting to the NFC championships and all
But
that
but
with the weapons,
the offense wasn't the same though.
what you mean? As far as what?
As far as the actual play calling and the style of offenses, San Diego was a little bit more wide open compared to New Orleans. New Orleans was much more of different types of routes, different types of talent, different types of receivers. It was just different. It was a different looking Drew Brees when he went from New Orleans from San Diego. To
No,
me, in my eyes.
no, the reason why because you had you they was playing Marty ball, but remember eventually Rivers started throwing the ball more. So
Mhm.
you look at his receivers, then you got Ladanian too. Oh my God! But anyway, I digress. So Drew Brees, this is Mister Quarterback right here, man. This guy. Remember, he missed the season. He didn't play. He didn't play his rookie season. He missed the season.
Mhm.
Um, they benched him for your boy, and he still threw for 202 touchdowns, 4,000 yard seasons, four. one 5,000-yard season, which was unheard of at the time, except for Marino. But and he had 23 game-winning drives. This guy can thread the needle. This guy can play with any receiver and still win. This was another guy you call a gamer. This was a guy that you knew you was going to get 11 wins just with him. Remember, he played all them years with no defense
Mm-hmm.
in New Orleans, and yet still was always able to have his team right there. One of the most competitive quarterbacks you'll ever see, can make any throw. I mean, people compare him now, they think about it, but Drew Brees could make, especially in the early 2000s or the 2000s, he can make any throw. And he always was able to make that throw where if the wide receiver was doubled, or he'll put it to where only his receiver would get it. But that's a gunslinger right there, and that's my guy Drew Brees.
So my number three, we're gonna agree on number three on this time. I'm gonna say the same thing. Then a lot of things you said, Raphael. But one of the things with Drew Brees is that he did win a Super Bowl.
Mm-hmm.
2009. If you're any type of Saints fan, or you just remember football, Drew Brees was one of the things that helped bring that city together after Hurricane Katrina.
Right.
Like that entire season, that entire run was something special. That playoff run, 8 touchdowns, no interceptions in 2009. And Drew Brees wasn't the biggest quarterback. Brees was what? He's barely 6'1" on a Tuesday. I mean, he barely can see over the offensive line, but arguably one of the best deep ball throwers and the most accurate deep ball throwers you're going to find anywhere. He had weapons. Was He had weapons all over. Don't sleep on Marcus Colston. Colston had some good numbers over the years. All right, in New Orleans, Brees won with two different teams. He won 10 games with two different teams, and literally changed the direction of two franchises. All right. You remember, if his injury never happened, he would never went to New Orleans, and we never saw Philip Rivers on this list either. Breeze did so much, and his impact on the game puts him here. Like you said, in most situations, he would be higher, but I think this is the right spot for him at three. Like I said, one of the best deep ball throwers you can find anywhere. I love Breeze, and he's wearing a Saints jersey. So
Mm,
you say it hurts you about Favre.
right.
Imagine being a Falcons fan and seeing Drew Brees on the other side.
Right.
That's the only guy in the division that scares me on a regular basis is Drew Brees, even at 726 years old.
Right. All right. Two quarterbacks left. Which way we going? My number two quarterback is arguably considered the greatest quarterback of his franchise. Threw a lot of touchdowns. All right, I'm gonna let y'all stop guessing, man. Listen, when it comes to if it's one game and we need one win, and I need to go to battle with, I'm gonna go with this guy. I'm gonna pick him. You say, well, why is he your number two? We talking about decade, not. But I got to go with Tom Brady as my number two quarterback, and this is why I got him at number two. And then I'll go through his accolades. Well, let me go with his accolades first, and then we'll do number two. So this is a man who went to four Super Bowls, won three, should have won four, but some guy that I have on his list beat him. Also, this man had three 4,000-yard seasons, 207 touchdowns, 23 game winning drives. Brady was that quarterback that no matter what offensive scheme you had, he would excel in any. We saw him as a game manager, like Danny said, but yet still come back and win Super Bowl game winning drives. Had two game winning drives in the Super Bowl in the years when he was a game manager. We saw him where they opened it up the year where they had it where what they I think they was going like five wide. This before Moss was there. They was doing five wide. They changed the system. I think that was the first year McDaniels got there. but it was just they was doing like real short passes, but it was five wide. He was throwing a lot. Then we saw when Randy Moss, because he never had. You think about it, in those first three Super Bowls, he never had that wide receiver. Then all of a sudden, he get Wes Welker. He gets Randy Moss. He gets Dante Starward. So now your third wide receiver is decent. You got West, then of course you got Moss, and of course we all know what he did: 50 touchdowns, um, MVP, go undefeated. But Brady was that guy. If you wanted to go to war with, that's who you wanted. I have him at number two. You said, how can you have him at number two when he went to four Super Bowls, won three? You'll hear when I talk about the number one quarterback. But that's my number two, Tom Brady.
Okay. So my number two quarterback, and this was a hard one. He led the decade in almost every single category you're going to find. Led it in yards, led it in touchdown passes. I mean, there's not much you can say other than how great he is as a quarterback and was as a quarterback. I mean, if you go back 2006, they went from they won a Super Bowl from the wild card position in '06 with him at quarterback, and that's Peyton Manning. Listen, this was one of the hardest 1-2 battles you're going to find. All right, no one's better than using the word Omaha than Peyton Manning. All right, the master of the audible. Like I said, led the decade in touchdown passes, led it in yards, led it in almost every single statistical category you can think of. Almost had a 3-to-1 touchdown interception ratio. So you're saying, why isn't Peyton Manning the number one quarterback on this list when arguably he did it year after year after year? Listen, the quarterback I have in front of him did it 3 times in the decade.
You talk about that on the next one.
I'm just going to say it. Peyton Manning was great. Peyton Manning had weapons. Peyton Manning did everything you asked for. He was the quintessential number one overall pick in how he prepared, how he did things. He ran the offense. And listen, like you said about Tom Brady, you go to war for Peyton Manning. You go to war with him any day of the week. It's just the fact of there was a little bit more for number one than number two, but it's kind of hard picking either way. So I have Manning at number two, even with all the accolades.
All right. So my number one, of course, is Peyton Manning. Look, Danny said all the accolades. This man had 314 touchdowns just in a decade alone.
Mm-hmm.
He had 5 seasons where he had over 30 touchdowns. They weren't throwing touchdowns like they weren't throwing the ball like they were back then. Manny kind of started this trend. 9 seasons over 4,000 yards. 9. 3 seasons over a 100 quarterback rating, and one that he didn't get was 99.9. So we're gonna give him that one. He has, so we say 4 100 quarterback ratings, over 100. When we talk about quarterback ratings, then he had 35 game-winning drives. All right, this is why I got him at number one. We're talking top quarterbacks of the decade, right? Every team from here, from when Manny got there, you look for you pattern your quarterback, or you want a quarterback like Peyton Manning. He is everything you want in a quarterback. This man knew his system. Smartest quarterback I know they say the guy with the Colts, he just slipped my mind, but golly, with the buzzer haircut back in the day. You know what I'm talking about.
Uh,
Played for the Colts. I can't think of his name. It's just slipped my
it'll,
mind.
it'll slip my mind. It'll come to my mind in a
But
second.
the legend. He was the legend, right? Number 19, Unitas.
Giants.
So Unitas, they say he was one of the smartest, not the smartest, but Peyton Manning, the smartest quarterback that you'll ever see or ever hear of. The first quarterback, you mentioned the audibles, man. Not just the Omaha, but to see him call a play. And I'm talking about calling an audible, not an audible where, okay, we see them about to they doubling this guy or that's free. All right, run a deep route. No, I'm talking about audible to run the ball. it started getting to the point where they was like, okay, Peyton, we're gonna let you just go to the line. If you don't like that, now you call something else. You have a few plays you can mess with. That's a quarterback, man. Uh, when back in the day, remember they used to call their own plays. Now they let him do this.
Mm-hmm.
Accurate, accurate. A competitor can make every throw. And I just think when you think of quarterback, like I said, I didn't have Steve McNair here because we're talking quarterbacks. If we're talking greatest players or whatever, I would have Steve McNair higher than what I had him as a quarterback. But quarterback, I gotta put him number one. Like I said, Brady got three. Two of those, Brady, let's be real. The first one, it was miraculous what he did. But at the same time, we saw Drew Bledsoe come in that championship game and win him that game. So let's be real. The
Mm-hmm.
defense, they had a great defense. They had, so it wasn't just Brady. Peyton had that. Peyton had that till what 2000 and it was 2007 when the defense finally got good, or six, and they went to the
Mm-hmm.
Super Bowl. I got him as the number one quarterback.
No argument there, but my number one quarterback is Thomas Edward Brady. Now, you're saying, why do I have Brady over Manning? Here's a couple of things. Number one, Tom Brady didn't have a losing record in any season as a starter in the decade. Peyton Manning had one. Peyton Manning had a 6-10 season. Tom Brady's worst season as a starting quarterback was 9-7
Okay. Mm-hmm.
as a starter in the entire decade. Peyton Manning did go 6-10.
Mm-hmm.
Brady did not have a losing season in any season he had. Brady won his first was 10 playoff games as a starter. His first 10 games as a playoff starter, he won. When you throw 5,000 yards in the season with 50 touchdowns, you throw 50 touchdowns a season, you lead the league in touchdown passes. That same season, Brady also led the league in completion percentage. All right. Brady only lost 4 playoff games in the decade. His first 3 years he was in the playoffs, they won the Super Bowl. You can say he wasn't the main reason why, but somebody has to call plays, call hike, and throw the football. If you want a quarterback who's going to win, and he also missed an entire season. Remember, he missed 2008 because he really just played one quarter before getting himself hurt.
Mm-hmm.
You can talk about what Brady and the whole Patriots, whatever it is for the decade. Brady was the most winningest quarterback in the decade. He put up numbers. He's got 3 Super Bowls, no matter how you want to call it. And anytime a quarterback goes 10-0 to start his career in the playoffs and lose 4 games in the playoffs in an entire decade and put the numbers he put up, he didn't put up 300 touchdowns, but he also didn't throw 100 interceptions like Peyton Manning either. He threw under 100. So, listen, it hurts me to put Tom Brady as number one on this list for personal reasons, but on the field, there's a reason why people call him the GOAT. It is what it is. Tom Brady's number one on my list.
All right. That's our top 10. All right. Before we start getting on each other's top 10, I'm going to put Danny's his top 10, or top 5, I should say. And there, if you missed it, there his top 5 right here. And let it scroll one more time. And here's my top 5. Okay. So we're about to go to the comments, and let's go to these comments. So, what do we have now? Said it's easy to win all those playoff games when you record and practice.
I mean, didn't they beat the Carolina Panthers in the decade in the Super Bowl as well too? I'm
So
just
why does
saying.
the Carolina Panthers fan?
Yeah, man, they know about kicking out of bounds in the Super Bowl as well too in this decade. So I'm just going to say with that. But continue. What else do the lovely folks have to say?
James said 28-3 should get Brady number one. Just saying. Oh, oh,
Yeah, and Brady also won the Tuck Bowl game this decade too. Continue.
Oh, he's an Oakland fan.
Tuck Bowl. That's all I'm gonna say. Tuck Bowl.
Oh, okay. Mike says my wife called Tom Brady supermodel quarterback.
I mean, his wife is a supermodel.
Yeah. All right. All right, man. So look, I'm gonna come out and say why I didn't have Brady. Quick, why I didn't have Brady as number one. First of all, it was hard. I was going back and forth because I love Brady. I used to hate Brady, but I love him. I love him now. Like I'm a big fan of his. I think for the simple fact that, like you said, Matt Castle came in the year afterwards, the year he got hurt, and they went 11-5. They didn't make the playoffs, but they went 11-5. Had a
Mm-hmm.
very good year. Brissett came in, was 2-1,
That was 2016 though.
and still.
But we're talking the decade. We're talking the decade though.
No,
We're
no,
talking
listen, listen what I'm saying though.
Okay.
Garoppolo was 2-0, I think, before he. Then you look at I can't think of his name. He played for us too. The other backup, I cannot think of his name, but he came in and he won game. I think he's like 4-0 as a starter. I cannot think of his
Brian
name.
Hoyer.
He played Hoyer. Yeah, he played for the Bears. So some of that tells me that it's not all Brady. Now, again, I'm not saying it's not him and he can't, but it's more to just Brady. So we saw what happened when Manny got hurt. It was a wrap. They were like -5 and 3. So it it lets me know that it's a little more than just Brady. But I can't get mad. I'm just saying that's why, and I'm not mad at what you're doing. I'm just saying that's why I didn't put him as number one.
See, here's the thing: when you make the points about Brissett, Hoyer, and Garoppolo, that's all in the 2010s. When you look at the decade itself, though, because remember Brady only missed the one season. Like I
Right.
say, he started, and
And they
that's the
went
game he got hurt
Castle
in
went
Castle.
11-5.
But they didn't make the playoffs, though. No matter how good 11-5 is,
What is that? So the years, the year that Brady went to the playoffs, Super Bowl year, how many games they win?
which Super Bowl years?
The first year, how many games they win?
What? How many games the Patriots won that year, or how many
Yeah.
games did Brady win as a starter?
The Patriots win. The Patriots won. How many games they win?
Let's see. I think it was. I want to say 11-5. Brady
Thank you.
was
So don't
11.
tell me. So
11.
you
He
no,
was 11-3 and
you can't.
11-3
Okay,
2001.
but you can't say that 11-5 the play. You can't. I'm saying you can't say well they made the playoff. No, they was the same. They had the same record that year when they went to Super Bowl. Brady's first year starting. So all I'm saying is you can't. Don't give me the record thing. I'm just saying Castle was
Let's
11-5 in that decade. Since you said we can't, you don't want to use Hoyer and all of them. He was 11-5. So all I'm saying is I'm just saying the only reason why I didn't because we saw success. It's just everybody else was just better that year. San Diego was 11-5. They got in.
Brady was 14-4 as a starter in the playoffs. 14-4 in the decade as a starter at quarterback. I think he was the only quarterback that hit double digits in victories in the decade. Like we talk about Tom Brady being a game manager and a system guy. He is a product of the system. Right. I think we both agree with that. But nobody ran their system better than Tom Brady. Joe Montana can be considered a system quarterback in San Francisco running the West Coast offense. But it doesn't take away from the greatness of Joe Montana either.
But Brady, one thing I did say, then we can move on from Brady, but Brady played in different schemes and still excelled. You know
exactly.
What I'm saying?
Any system they put in front of him, he won.
Yeah, and he will. And that's why it's hard. It was hard, but like I said, I just thought quarterback. I'm thinking the quarterback and the team.
I think the biggest thing for me was Brady going 6-10. I want to say was 2001 or 2002. Brady never had. Manning went to in 2002. I think it was 6-10. Brady didn't have a losing record in any part of the decade. And then when you win your first 10 playoff games, 10 straight playoff games that you played in, you didn't lose at all.
But you know what year that was when they were 6-10, right?
What the year they when they lost in the playoffs?
No, the year that Manning went 6-10.
That was
Playoffs? Playoffs?
yeah.
Playoffs? That was
They
that
ran,
year.
they ran that man right out the door too. Yeah, because he
Same
knew what
with
playoffs look like.
McDermott. Right. All right. So I want you to tell me why. We're gonna do it quickly. So what did you have a problem with on my list?
You talking about? My question is, why is Matt Hasselbeck on this list? Why is he anywhere close on this list? Because I didn't have him in my top 13.
Mm.
I had other quarterbacks ahead of Matt Hasselbeck. I didn't even think of Matt Hasselbeck. So
See,
please, sir, digress on this one.
I didn't put. So I'm gonna tell you why I didn't put Philip Rivers on. Then you're gonna
Okay.
see why I put Philip Rivers only played 4 years, right?
Hmm.
I'm sorry, 4 years. You just can't get on my list for 4 years because if that was the case, I wanted to put Tony Romo on there as
I had
well.
Romo ahead of Hasselbeck.
But Romo played 4 years, and Romo was in the league for two before. That's not his fault, but I guess it is because he didn't get a chance to start. Rivers didn't get a chance to start at first, so it's like you were in the league and you didn't start. So evidently you didn't do anything to win that job. If he would have came in and he'd have played 5 years, and I would have gave it to him. 4 years, that's not even half the decade. So I can't give you that. You know what I'm saying? McNair, I didn't because McNair is not like I said with the stats, and then as a quarterback, I think McNair just fell into what he started to, I guess, believe in the system. So he didn't play as well as I would want him to. He was the greatest player on the field, but not the greatest quarterback. So I couldn't put him there. So that's why I said by default. Then that's when it went to Matt Hasselbeck. Because after that, with nobody else, I wasn't putting Jeff Garcia in. Dante Culpepper didn't play enough.
I thought Jeff Garcia was better than Matt Hasselbeck, to be
No,
honest with you.
Jeff Garcia only had like 3 good years, maybe four. Hasselbeck played well through his career. He didn't have 4,000, but he played well. He didn't have any. He didn't have any good wide receiver help, but we know he was a good quarterback. He played well. He made some fumbles.
But what made him a good quarterback? He had Sean Alexander. Alexander was dominant during that decade.
Oh, he was. He definitely was. But Matt Hasselbeck made them throws, them games where they needed that first down, 3rd and 8. He did it. The game where he needed a touchdown drive, he did it. Matt Hasselbeck did his thing.
Hold on. When you say game-winning drives, do we got to go back to the playoff game? We taking the ball and we scoring.
No, that's why I said I mentioned that.
Yeah, he scored. All right. They scored.
Right, I mentioned that because if that was the case, like I said, and that's to be real, and you're right, I could have went how I went with Vic, but Vic changed the game.
Yeah.
Because if we're talking quarterback, Vic shouldn't even be on this list. We talking stats or whatever, but Vic changed the game. But I'm saying Matt Hasselbeck won. He did win. He won games. Now your boy had run for 147 yards, but when the game was on the line, Matt Hasselbeck was driving them and winning. So that's why I had. But like I said, it was by default. I couldn't think of nobody else. I couldn't give you playing 4.
Here's the thing, though. Philip Rivers won 14 or 15 less games than Matt Hasselbeck and played half the time.
Look who we had on his team.
It doesn't matter.
How does that not matter, Danny? When he had for years, they had at least 8 players on his team going to the Pro Bowl. San Diego, if anything, Philip Rivers failed because San Diego should have went to the Super Bowl. You had an all-star team for like 4 straight years.
And you also lost to the Patriots as well, too. Was it his, like you mentioned, was it his fault that Dan Tomlinson sat in that bench in the AFC Championship game?
I don't trip off that one, but you lost to Peyton, which you had a better team than them.
But it's also Peyton Manning as well, too.
But one team can't beat you. One team shouldn't be able to beat. Peyton Manning don't play defense.
So you can't blame Philip Rivers. Don't play defense either.
Yeah, so why can't you score on Peyton Manning when they didn't have a defense in Indianapolis? Telling you, they underachieved. They underachieved.
Matt Hasselbeck was 63-54 as a starter.
And look, and who do they have on their team, Danny? Can you name one person besides Sean Alexander? Thank you. You got to do that. No,
Bobby Ingram. I want to say it was
Bobby Ingram, Corey Robinson. Come on, man. But anyway, like I said, he got it by default. It wasn't like he got it by. That's why I couldn't put Philip Rivers because they only played 4 seasons. I've been saying this throughout the whole since we started in the 90s. If you
But
play
remember, but here's the thing. But you had Eli Manning on your list, and he played the same number of seasons Phillip Rivers did. They were drafted in the same class.
No, Eli played more than Phillip Rivers. Phillip Rivers didn't come in until he only played 4 seasons in the decade. Eli played throughout his whole since he was a rookie. That's what I'm saying.
89 to 68. So basically 20 game difference.
It don't matter. He only played 4 seasons. That's all I'm saying.
He was a starter for 4 seasons.
Yeah, you got to play more than that. You got to be a starter for more than that. I'm sorry. That's why. That's the only reason. I've said this about other players. Remember, I said about Marshall Faulk in one decade. I was like, yo, he got to play. That's my only thing. Now, with your list, what I have, what did I see? What was bothering me about your list? I think just the fact that I really liked your list. Like I said, it was mainly Rivers and McNair. The fact that, especially McNair, I couldn't.
See, here's what Steve McNair. Okay, sometimes it's not all about numbers. All right.
No, you're right. You're right.
And so with Steve McNair, he was actually not bad as a quarterback. All right. But like you said, Jeff Fisher was his coach. Eddie George was in the backfield. All right. So it was a run first team. McNair made plays with his arm. And remember, he only had Derek Mason to throw to. All right. He had Frank Wycheck. He was okay. Kevin Dyson, he fell 1 yard short in the end zone.
Wycheck was nice, but go ahead.
He was all right. He was solid. He was solid. But none of those guys, like I said, Derek Mason's underrated, but none of those guys scared you but Eddie George in the backfield. All right. He played for a coach, like we mentioned before, that was more run dominant. But McNair also made plays with his feet. He was like Ben Roethlisberger, hard to tackle. Also, what made McNair in this list was he won when he wasn't in Tennessee. So he won when he didn't have Eddie George as his main guy in the backfield. He won with the Baltimore Ravens and won 13 games as a starter.
Well, here's the thing. You say he won games, but no, that defense won games. They didn't even. I remember he said he was going to score 17 games. He can score 17 a game for them. I don't even think he did that while he was there. He didn't play well in Baltimore. They won because of that defense. If anything, he should have went to Baltimore and they should have won a Super Bowl, at least with that defense. And you still had Derek Mason, but they didn't. They had running backs, but they didn't. And that's why, that's my guy. I love sitting there, but I just don't, he didn't live up to what he should have or to the hype. And like you said, part of that's Jeff Fisher, but still, that's why I wanted to put him on there, man.
But and also he was second. Second in the decade in rushing yards for quarterbacks, other than Michael Vick. If Michael Vick would have never existed, he would have been the guy in the decade. Like I said, big, strong, and mobile. That's why I have him at number 10. I had him just ahead of Jeff Garcia.
Jeff Garcia didn't even do it. He had like 3 good seasons. That was it.
But 5 Pro Bowlers.
I don't know why, because he didn't.
Hey, listen. I don't vote for the Pro Bowl. He made the Pro Bowl 5 times.
You know how we feel about the Pro Bowl, because you go through his list. Go
listen,
through the stats. You look at the stats. It's like, nah.
But 5 Pro Bowls is 5 Pro Bowls, whether you want to call it or not. Out of the decade, he spent half the time in the NFL All-Star game, whatever you want to call it. And that's before. Remember, he played 5 Pro Bowls. That's a pretty big accomplishment because he's one of 3 or 4 guys in the decade to even play that many or more in the decade. Right. So he had more than McNabb did.
Right. So all right, y'all, that is our top 10. Mike Hasselbeck, Raphael shared a bar dome index. That's why he made the list.
I don't know, because I'm on the index. I think I'm on the index as well, Raphael. Not as clean as yours is, but no, I don't think that's why he made the list.
Dead Mike said we're not gonna put blasphemy on Frank Wycheck name. That dude was their leading wide receiver. That's what I said, man. Frank was that guy.
So Derek Mason didn't exist. I'm just trying to figure that out.
No, he did, but I'm saying Frank Wycheck was not nice. But
Frank Wycheck wasn't the guy you game plan for either.
No, I don't know, because he was getting. I think he was more than Derek Mason. Derek Mason was quietly like, but either or, man. It, like you said, it was hard. It was this is hard because
it
wasn't top heavy. It was a top heavy more so.
Not. It was more. It was more middle heavy because
middle heavy, yeah, well, middle to top, but like the bottom 3 was like, So
and then the top 3 were pretty much the same. I mean, just different order. And then, like I said, 4 through 7 was like I said, we had chalk on that one. So
right. So all right. So next week we will do what
running backs of the
running backs
2010s.
2010s. Yeah, so we'll be back, man. Sorry we kept you all so long. We started late, but
I had the Nelly issues earlier, so I'll take responsibility.
nah,
My internet went Nelly on me.
it
So
wasn't just that. It wasn't you. It was me too. It was a lot of stuff we was trying to get done. I was having difficulties as well, so it's cool. But once again, man, y'all check us out. Check out Danny's show. What's the name of your show, bro? You and Kyle?
oh man, Beyond the Buzzer Monday and Thursday nights 9 p.m. on Facebook Live, Zingo Television Channel 198, as well as every place you can find our media. We're everywhere.
All right, and then of course you know Danny writing for the 3 point conversion as well. He's with the 3 point conversion. Um, Got to make that call to Kyle too. So Kyle, I don't know if you're looking now, but I got to make that call to you also. Make that call to you also.
Bad signal
Um,
time.
yeah, but and check out 3 point conversion sports lounge every Saturday morning at 10 a.m. 12
Yep,
p.m. locally in Atlanta, 1100 a.m. WWWE The Real. Also on iHeartRadio on the 3 point conversion station on iHeart, and we go live stream on Facebook as well. But just check us out, man. The website, the 3pointconversion.com, the YouTube channel, 3 point conversion YouTube channel, also Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. We still hadn't done Twitch is the new one. Maybe
yeah.
I'll do Twitch. I hadn't got to that yet,
We're,
but
we'll talk about that.
yeah, we gotta talk about that because yeah, we'll see. But either or, man, we everywhere. Y'all check us out, man. Shout out to everybody that's looking, and please share. And Danny, you have a great night. Make sure we hey, let's get these murderers who killed Breonna Taylor. Let's get them, and
Please
and let's get these murderers that killed Breonna Taylor. You got anything else to say?
listen. If you guys said Saturday mornings, look, watch out. Watch 3 point conversion. Like I said, watch and do what you need to. And if it's somebody's birthday as a sports fan, share it with them as a birthday gift. It's the best birthday gift they're gonna
Yeah.
find anyway.
And the last thing I gotta say is let's arrest these murderers that killed Breonna Taylor. All right. We'll
Hashtag.
see y'all. We'll see y'all later. Arrest the murders that killed Breonna Taylor. All right. Will you miss me? Peace.
Peace.